It was Game 7, Madison Square Garden, the Eastern Conference semifinals, and the Indiana Pacers could not miss. They set a new playoff record. They shoot 67% from the field. They absolutely dog-walked the New York Knicks 130-109, and they advance. They will face the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Tony East from Locked On Pacers joins me now. And Tony, this was a team all season who we saw could absolutely explode offensively, but this was next level. I mean, literally record-setting stuff.
It was unbelievable. I mean, I've seen them do this before, obviously, because they had for a while the best offense the NBA had ever seen. But in a Game 7 that they came in and they said, you know, these games are all about who plays harder. These games can be ugly and sloppy. It was none of that. They played exactly how they wanted. They did everything they wanted offensively. They got whatever shot they hoped to get for almost the entire game. And not only did they get the shot they wanted, they made it almost every single time, like you said. And let's be clear, Peter, they shot 67.1% because they beat the record by 0.1. They need that percentage to have the record. But that says everything. I mean, they started 20 for 25. No matter what the Knicks could have done, injuries or no injuries, they're losing to this Pacers team when they play that well like they did today. They hit their identity. They hit it in stride, and they had no chance of losing in a game that was unlike a typical Game 7. They just absolutely dominated.
Yeah, we think of Tyrese Halliburton as the engine for this team, but Aaron Nesmith was 8 of 8. Andrew Nembhard was 8 of 10. Miles Turner was 7 for 11. Like that's not going to happen every game, of course, but that is indicative of what we saw in this one on Sunday. And to my mind, this, although they're not going to set the record every game, this is how you beat the Boston Celtics. If you're going to put together a roadmap, it is, hey, just have a couple outlier games offensively and hope to get lucky once or twice.
I know the Nuggets did too, so maybe I'm wrong here, but Pacers are one of the only teams that beat Boston twice in the regular season, right? Like they've already proven to themselves that they can do it. One of those being that epic in-season tournament quarterfinal game that really kind of put the Pacers on the map for this season. And, you know, their offense was absolutely dominant back at that stage of the season. And the second time they won was the game Halliburton got injured and their season really flipped. So some symmetry there. But yeah, in this game, I mean, Aaron Nesmith 8 for 8 and like pull up twos after getting by it. Like who'd expect Aaron Nesmith to take that shot? And he made a bunch of them. I think all 8 of Andrew Nembhard's makes stopped the Knicks run. Like it was timely shots. It was hard shots. I mean, that's what kind of made it stand out, is like the Knicks would go in this little burst and MSG's just lighting up in here. It's going crazy. And then the number of deflating, like, oh, I heard today was like matching the number I've ever heard for like a good month of basketball before. It was unbelievable. Turner, of course, like you said, making them too. So that is how you beat the Celtics, especially without their rangy injured defender Porzingis. We'll see how long he's out for in the series, but you know, I don't think anyone's going to pick the Pacers to beat the Celtics, but I mean, if they do this even once or twice, they'll give themselves a chance to be in the series at least for longer than either the first two Boston opponents.
To your eyes, was this the healthiest that Tyrese Halliburton has looked in a while?
Yeah, you know, it's up there. I usually do my gauge with him on his dunking, and he didn't dunk in this game, which doesn't mean he's not healthy, but he's had a lot of games, at least in the last, let's say, month and a half to me, where I've thought, yes, he looks extremely healthy today, but it hasn't always been the case, as you point out. And he was finally off the injury report before Game 6 for the first time since, I believe, Game 3 of the first round. So, you know, clearly health growing for him. He had 2 good games in a row, great today. And you know what really got Halliburton going beyond health is when he gets a heckling fan. There's like a third level of Tyrese Halliburton that's above all NBA, all heckle Halliburton. That happened in the first half, and he's pointing at the guy. They're making the same hand motions back and forth at each other. It's not Spike Lee. It's not going to go down in a 30 for 30 documentary or anything like that, but it's what he needed. He had it in a couple of regular season games. He loves playing on the road, and he certainly looked very healthy. He couldn't miss. He got to his spots, and that's what stars do. They lead teams to big wins.
If you're going to just try and put in perspective what we've seen over the last 2 rounds, I mean, they get a little lucky, of course, with the Bucks and some of the injuries. They get a little lucky with the Knicks and some of the injuries. How do you put into context what we've seen over the last 2 rounds?
Yeah, you know what the argument for lack of a better term I always made when they were playing the Bucks was like, the Bucks won a championship in 2021. No one remembers how injured the Nets were in the second round, right? And that series was epic.
Well, except Celtics fans, but yeah, go ahead.
Right, but like, you know, the Clippers when they were really injured and they made no one remembers, right? That what is remembered is how far you got. And so, yes, the nerdiest of fans, and I mean this in an endearing way, the nerdiest of fans will remember the context of all these series. But what are the Pacers supposed to do? You know, not feel good about it? They're in the conference finals for the first time in a decade, and only, I think, the fourth time this century, right? Like that's a huge deal and a very impressive feat for a team that is starting like has like 5 guys on rookie contracts in their rotation. And they've had certainly high peaks, like including tonight, where you think, well, it wouldn't have mattered who was healthy. For the Knicks, Brunson was playing. OG was played, although he shouldn't have. In this game, they had everybody but Julius Randle, who you'd consider major, and they steamrolled them, right? So, like, they're not going to feel bad about it. But if they get steamrolled by Boston, people will, of course, bring it up forever, but they deserve it. They've played better than the teams across from them, and they're here. It's unbelievable.
Stay up to date on the Indiana Pacers all year by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Pacers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube.